Issue 1053 of Detective Comics gives us part 7 of The Tower, Mariko Tamaki's The Tower, and we pick up with a court case. We start the issue with a court case in which some party crashers are being accused of doing what one can only assume party crashers do, which is, you know, crime, beating someone up. Although, yeah, they have this lawyer who's kind of defending them and making out that they were only doing what vigilantes do, which is trying to help this person that they apparently attacked. So, yeah, nice bunch of people. But we see that they are holding out for Dr. Ware to pay their bail. This guy is... I said a couple of issues ago, this guy stresses me out. Watching him do what he does stresses me out. And again, he's juggling those balls, you know. He's expected to bail these people out. They're threatening him and stuff, saying, you know, he's not doing a good job of it. He's going to Penguin to loan money in order to bail them out, even though Penguin doesn't want anything to do with them. And in fact, both the Penguin and the party crashers have got each other's drugs because Dr. Ware has kind of divided them and given... It's just... Dude, like, plan better. You're stressing me out. And Dr. Ware does let on to some party crashers that there is a woman, a particular woman, who's just sent him a text message saying that she's going to go to the press. This is someone who works at the Tower. She has a recording. She says she has a recording of the moment in which Psycho Pirate kind of lost his grip on everyone. She became fully aware and did this recording. She's found it. She doesn't remember kind of making it, obviously, because Psycho Pirate got his grip back. So she's on about going to the press. And it turns out she already has gone to the press. She's given it to, well, she's told Deborah Donovan that she's got this recording, and Deborah Donovan relays this information to the Bat Crew, who send, thankfully, Batgirl to go and look after this woman, just in the nick of time, because a party crasher gets there to kind of take care of her, and Batgirl kind of saves the day. But ultimately it ends up with this woman going off into hiding. Either way, it does set our crew, our Bat Crew, on the road to digging much deeper into the Tower. Now that they know, oh, hang on, this woman had a relapse of memory and then it came back and she doesn't remember recording this message. Puts them onto the trail of perhaps we're dealing with someone here who is mind controlled. So there's a nice little moment where we see Oracle and she's got a bunch of villains like Gorilla Grodd on there. You know, people who are known. It's just that's the world of comics for you. It's like when you say mind control, it doesn't just leap straight to one villain. There are numerous villains in comic books who all could have something to do with this, with regards to a plot involving mind control, which I kind of like, because it means that you don't just go, mind control, and then like the 60s Batman, you'd go, it can only be one possible solution. It's Psycho Pirate. No, here they have to kind of figure it out, but they're getting ever so closer to the truth. We also get Dick, Nightwing, finding the message underneath Huntress's bed, the message that Huntress put there when she had her kind of open-eyed moment. The lead up to that is quite amusing. It's got to be said. He gets thirsted on by two female nurses, and I gotta say, you know, it's like there's a lot. There's certain things in comic books at the moment that do kind of annoy me a little bit, and they are minor issues. Like, I've got no problem with gay characters being represented in comic books, but I do have a problem with the fact that whenever they are represented, it's always down to whatever they're thinking sexually. You know, it's like we'll have a comment in which somebody, you know, a lesbian character will mention, "Oh, that girl's hot," and it's like, "Oh, we get it, you're a lesbian." You know, rather than actually just seeing a lesbian couple going about their business, day-to-day stuff, and they just happen to be together. Instead, they always have these comments that are made where it's like, okay, we get it, you're a lesbian. And then we get stuff like this, which I mentioned the lesbian one because actually that's we've had a few throwaway comments like that in previous issues in this story. One being last issue with Chase Meridian when she refers to kind of stealing Riddler's girlfriend. It didn't really have any bearing on anything else that was going on, to be honest, other than to point out, yes, okay, we get it, she's a lesbian, big deal. Whereas it could have just been that she wrote Riddler's mental health report and said she recommends he doesn't get released from Arkham. That could have been just a better motive, to be honest. And then we get this, again, as I say, which is there's a moment in which Dick Grayson is thirsted on by these two women, and they treat him in a way that if it was a guy doing that, or if it was two guys doing that to a woman, people would roll their eyes and, you know, me too, and all that kind of stuff. And it's like we have this pendulum shift, don't we, in society? Whenever we have big things that happen, we get a pendulum shift where it's like we don't go in the middle and meet in the middle and say, how can we make this better? Let's meet in the middle. What we do is we have pushback and things swing the other way. I'm probably going on about this far too long, so I'll end there. But it's only a little moment, but it's one of them moments that I'm just like, yeah, it's like if she was on the other foot, you know, would we be crying havoc? Anyway, these two women thirsting over Dick. It's apparently perfectly acceptable if it's being done against a guy. I don't know, maybe not. But it's a really funny moment in which, like, obviously Dick's undercover, he's trying to find out information, and he overhears these two women talking. So he starts casually asking them questions, and then one of them says that, oh, this woman said something, and then he grabs her arm. Like in the panel, literally the artwork, you see it, he grabs her arm and he goes, really? Like what? And it comes across as really creepy. It comes across as a bit full on. Like if I saw that in a movie, I would be like, overacting there a little bit, you know, like you could be a bit more subtle about it. It's like it would just make much more sense to me if he's like, and given that he's a trained detective and undercover kind of guy and stuff, it just seems a bit full on that he grabs her arm and goes like what? Yeah, a bit more subtlety maybe, Dick. Now that is of course some unintentional humour there. There are times in here where there's some intentional humour, which works quite nicely. We've got this again, this fake Harley character that makes a really kind of obvious line about pudding, and it's just like it's more the reaction to that line from like Mr. Freeze and Cypher. It kind of gets a little chuckle out of me, but the scene itself is kind of perfunctory. It's just I don't really know why it's there. This video is brought to you by Wow Comics. Visit wowcomics.com today and order your comic books online and use this code down at the bottom of the screen, WowBry1, when you place your order, and you will get 15% off. I've teamed up with Wow Comics to bring you this video and others like it because they are a company I trust. I buy my comic books from them, so I suggest you do the same. As I say, use the code WowBry1 at wowcomics.com and get 15% off your order. House of Gotham Part 7 picks up the story of the kid. He's back in Arkham Asylum, and now anyone who knows me, I think if you know what happens in this issue, you will know why I'm smiling. Nightfall. You can see here. I painted this cup myself. Yes, that's the Nightfall logo right there. Batman Nightfall logo. That story means an awful lot to me. It's probably my all-time favorite Batman story. I've got a really big thing for the Nightfall storyline. We're in Arkham in a very particular moment in time. What should happen? But Bane breaks all the inmates out of Arkham. As soon as the place went red, you know, those flashing lights go and the doors all open, I instantly thought, holy crap. is this the Arkham Breakout? Is this going to be the Arkham Breakout? And then boom, Bane pops up. I'm like, yes! So I just, for me, I proper fanboyed out. It's been a long time since I've fanboyed out like that at a particular moment in a story. So simple things amuse simple minds, I guess. But no, once again, you know, playing on the theme, bad fathers, this, that, and the other, that just keep popping into this guy's life, this kid's life. Bane, of all people, comes in, and I think he's the right character for this kid, being in the situation that this kid is in, because he shares a very kind of similar history in many ways. Not, you know, they are very different in many other ways, but the fact that this kid has been incarcerated in one way or another for pretty much most of his life. But there are certain correlations between Bane. You know, if you know Bane's past, if you know his history, his origin, then you know, the prison he was raised in, Santa Prisca. So going into Arkham Asylum and finding this kid and almost kind of sensing a certain sense of kindred spiritedness between the two, or at least from Bane's perspective. He can see himself in this kid. You know, we've had moments throughout this House of Gotham storyline, and I touched upon it last issue, when it may have been the issue before, when this kid keeps on. There's been this motif of this red triceratops, this little dinosaur, of this kid holding on to his past, to his innocence. It's a symbol of his innocence. And we had a very similar thing with Bane, you know, back in Santa Prisca during the Vengeance of Bane story. He had this teddy bear, and we even get that cropping up throughout other stories that we've had with Bane as a character. That teddy bear was a very significant thing for him, and kind of letting go of it was a very symbolic gesture of him letting go of his innocence, letting go of the child within him. So there is definitely two, you know, having that dinosaur that was placed throughout. As soon as Bane comes in here, there's definitely something about these two being together that makes sense. Now the question is, does this kid have what it takes to be like Bane? Would he even want to? You know, again, it's the whole bad father thing. Bane comes in, he schools this kid, gives him lessons on life, lectures, and this, that, and the other, bits of pearls of Bane wisdom that, you know, may have got Bane to where he's got in his life, but it doesn't necessarily mean you should follow that train of thought. So yeah, and Zsasz as well. Zsasz pops up. Zsasz is another character who kind of came out around the whole Nightfall period, and is another favourite of mine. So to see him pop up here is one particular moment in which Zsasz is going to kill this kid, and Bane basically makes him drop the knife, and he says, "Look, if you're going to go at this kid, you do it with your bare hands to make it a fair fight." Which obviously, by anyone else's standards, I just kicked my camera. By anyone else's standards, that's not a fair fight. You know, it's an adult man against a child. But to Bane, this child who was raised in prison, who fought men as a child and killed them as a child, this is the school of hard knocks. You know, this is how Bane teaches, and it's just, yeah, it's right. Anyway, it's a great chapter in this story, and again, it's that whole thing as to what choice this kid is going to make. I think the ending of the story is particularly poignant. We get a return of this character of Elliot, who was in the previous two issues, that this kid somehow still thinks would be his friend, still sees him in some way as a friend, which is quite sad. It's very sad, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, what he says to Elliot, you know, his response, what he says to Elliot is basically his response to Bane. And it's it's quite moving in many ways. And again, it makes me root for him. Rosenberg, if you screw this character over, I'm coming for you. So I'm going to give both The Tower Part 7 and House of Gotham Part 7 a 5 out of 5. Now, I know I had a few grumbles on The Tower, but that wasn't really to do with that particular, this particular chapter. It was more, there was a couple of grumbles I had that were more related to comics in general, as I see them today, certain habits that they do. But no, right, with regards to the story itself, again, beautifully paced, quite action packed. I like, I like the all different characters doing different things all over the place, and it's like a tapestry of stuff that's going on. I like all the balls that Mariko Tamaki is keeping in the air right now on that. I'm just, again, along for the ride. And as I say, House of Gotham, you throw Bane in there, Nightfall era, Arkham Asylum breakout, sticks Zass in for good measure, boom. I'm fanboying out so much I'm not going to even see any flaws. So that's a 5 out of 5 automatically there from me. But yeah, maybe when I revisit the story in its entirety, once it's all complete, that chapter might drop a bit. I don't know. Once I start listening to reason, but right now I just fanboying out too much to give it anything less than a 5.